Cook's Pest Control sideline reporter on the radio, Damion Square. We got to talk to Damion leading into the season. 6 games in, it's time to check in once again with D Square. Roll Tide, man. How's everything going?
Everything's good, man. We got some decent fall weather rolling shine, man. So if you ever been here and you ever felt the humidity here, you will know that today is a holiday for everybody in the Houston area.
That's good. Yeah, we woke up in the 40s this morning in Alabama, so we're pretty happy about that
Yeah,
too.
I am excited about that, man. Hopefully this is here to stay. Usually Halloween is a good day from a weather standpoint, so it seems like it's about that time for us to be trending in the right direction.
That's certainly good. Before we dive into the football and talk about this Crimson Tide team, I got to ask you first, just how much fun have you had with us on the radio, being our sideline reporter for the first 6 games of the year? What's it been like to be on the sidelines and have this important role?
Man, I love it, man. I love, to be around it. I've been away from it so long, man, pursuing my own professional career. And then, when I got out of the ball, spending time with my son and kind of, implementing myself in his life and, help him reach some of his personal goals, man. But to get the opportunity to come and, hang around the guys and talk ball with you guys and just be so close to the tie, something that's so dear to my heart, man. It's really uplifting. And I can see other things in my life making changes because of that good energy that I'm bringing in my life, man. It's just been good to me all the way around.
Done a great job for us so far, breaking down Alabama football. And just let's start with some overall thoughts on this Crimson Tide football team. Obviously, the emotional high, the win against Georgia, the loss against Vanderbilt, and then South Carolina got the win, but it got interesting at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we had two games back to back, where we probably, done the exact thing that we could not do in some scenarios. And, unfortunately against Vanderbilt, we wasn't able to escape that. Kind of put our foot in a hole that was too deep and couldn't get it out at the end of the game. South Carolina, that did not come back to affect us. We found a way, to put that game behind us, with the pick at the end of the game. Um, we found a way, and then, with the fumble by Lenore's mistake that he made with the ball in his hand. So the ball kind of rolled our way. It barely rolled our way, but it rolled our way in the South Carolina game. Now we got to, I hope those guys are going back to the tape and, finding some of those mishaps that they had in zone coverage and some of the communication issues that they had, to get those things pieced up because, like I said, man, Tennessee is a very powerful offense. And not only that, they got a quarterback that at any time, man, he could just go into like incredible mode, show you some things that, are special to him, considering the height that he has and the arm strength that he has. So I think it's important, for the Tide to get back to the film and, just kind of critique themselves to the best of their ability. Like I said, we had 2 weeks where, we didn't quite play to the standard that I know those guys want to play to. But, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, last weekend we got out of there with a W. We're coming into this week with more enthusiasm, you know what I mean? With not that bad taste in our mouth, you know what I mean? So hopefully these guys can get back to regular schedule programming, like the Tide is, man, and roll this week.
We've seen the defense make some great plays so far this season for the Crimson Tide, but I think fans were pretty frustrated during the Vanderbilt game on third down. Alabama wasn't able to get many stops on third down. What are you seeing from Alabama in some big play and especially move the change type scenarios from the opponents the last couple of weeks on defense?
I think I think it's important for guys to know down and distance. Sometimes when you get caught up in your assignment, you lose those little things in the game. I remember early on in my career, man, I would play or be performing in the game without understanding where exactly we're located on the field and some of the risk and things that I can take based on what the score is, where we're located. So you can't take for granted all the information that you need to have to make a great decision. You know what I mean? And I just think that as these guys grow together, as these guys play more football together, and as they get more reps at practice, they're going to understand game time situations more, and they're going to handle those situations a little better. They've been, a little rocky with that here and there, playing some teams that can extend downs with their quarterback. We've been playing against some quarterback with some pretty good legs and some elusiveness. So, like I said, just trying to get guys off of the field has been a struggle for us, but I think it's been because of communication in the zone defense and also communication with guys that just haven't spent a lot of time on the football field together.
And then what can the Crimson Tide do better against the run? Tennessee's got a dynamic running back in Dylan Sampson. Nico, the quarterback, not as much a threat to run, but how can Alabama really make sure they're not giving up huge running plays to Tennessee?
Um, I mean, they just got to be sound. Like I said, communication, man. Going back to to the film and studying, I know that Tennessee plays the whole field. They got a jet sweep coming across the ball. They got play action with the zone. Then they also got a deep seven running across the middle of the field. That'll gain 70 yards on one play. So like I said, it's all communication, going from one key to the next, not being too far ahead. Running the pass through the offensive line, as a linebacker, you know what I mean, before you go to your pass read and just, paying attention to the most dangerous man and coming up and, making the plays in the flash that you need to make. But like I said, just being safe all the way around. Tennessee is really, really explosive. I know they're going to come into this game and try to get up a few possessions to try to dictate, what Jalen has to do when he has the ball in his hand when it comes to passing the ball. I know that Alabama is vulnerable when we're in a situation where we got to throw the football on every play. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine the first 15 plays of Tennessee in this football game. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be but two runs in the first 15 plays. I think these guys are going to come out really explosive. And I think these guys are going to make us cover the field. And I think they're going to try to spread us out.
And with that, the last thing on the defense, what's the challenge of playing an offense that has a lot of tempo? Alabama's seen some things like it. USF's head coach used to be at Tennessee with Coach Heupel. So is it pretty similar, or how does the defense adjust to playing at that faster rate?
Well, you have to tackle. You have to tackle great. And you have to accept a few things. Like I said, early on in the game, when offenses like that come out, they're really explosive. They're running things that they're probably going to run one time that night. And, just so that you can adjust to it or when, they do certain motions, you have that play in the back of your head. You know what I mean? But as a defense, you have to know that they're in the 15 play script. It's the beginning of the game. You have to find a way to calm down, make those plays. Sometimes they might end up in the red zone early on because of the excitement. They're at home in front of a home crowd. But I think great defenses understand that and they find a way to get the team off the field in the red zone, either keep them to 3 or no points at all, let the game come down, to football, let the football be played on the field. And I think if Alabama can survive those energy, you know, explosion, type series that Tennessee is gonna have at home in front of that electric crowd. I think if they can come out of those situations um, with the least amount of scores as possible in the second half, they'll be in a great situation to put the game away.
Other side of the ball for the Crimson Tide, Jalen Milroe, a couple of interceptions, also a long time in the pocket for him, led to the intentional grounding in the end zone, different sacks, things like that. Is that more on the offensive line? Is it on Jalen? Kind of what you see this past week against South Carolina?
I saw a few things that went both ways. He had a few sacks, like the sack in the end zone where he had the safety, um, where he had the safety, where it looked like Pritchett gave up the sack. They kind of delayed a guy on the rush. That's all communication. I think Pritchett kind of lost what Jalen was in the pocket. And sometimes when you're playing with a quarterback as elusive as Jalen, as an O lineman, not playing with a traditional quarterback that sits in the pocket, you can kind of lose track of what Jalen is in the backfield. And sometimes we fall victim to that. But the gift and the curse to that is that, sometimes that creates really big plays for our offense. You know what I mean? So I just think having that feel, for Jalen and the areas that he likes to migrate to when he wants to make big plays. Every quarterback has their thing. I remember playing against Pat. Pat was a guy that wanted to scramble through the B gap and extend the play down the line of scrimmage. So everybody has habits. And I think that the O line and Jalen need to kind of, get together, talk about those habits, talk about, the landmarks that he wants to get to on the field that he feels most comfortable making those big plays. And I think that, that can help them out a little bit. But like I said, that's just a gray area. The defense has their eyes on the quarterback. The offensive line can't necessarily see the quarterback. So it's just one of those things that they're going to have to continue to work together, create space, and know that space works for them because Jalen is the most athletic man on the field.
You alluded to it a second ago, talking about Tennessee's early game plan for Alabama. You don't want to be in scramble mode because this offense is at its best when it has balance between running and passing the football. And I think a lot of Alabama fans want to see Jam Miller, Justice Haynes get more involved.
I want to see those guys get more balls as well. Last week it was a blur, man. I really feel like I didn't see those guys. You know what I mean? At the end of the game, I wasn't quite paying attention to it during the game, but at the end of the game, those guys, when I saw them at the end of the game, I was like, man, you look real unfamiliar right now. You know what I mean? So I do think that that is a very big part of our offense and just going forward. This whole season is a whole portfolio. To try to play in the last game of the year. You know what I mean? And I think when you're putting things on tape, you want to put that type of physicality on tape. I think the most dangerous thing that a defense can see on tape is an offense that can control time of possession with running backs because it almost makes it feel like you're going to play against a bully, somebody that just dictate the outcome of the game, the flow of the game, the rhythm of the game, the attitude of the game. I think the team that can run the ball, they dictate the attitude of the game. And whenever you're on the road, you want to have control of that. So I think it's important, if you want to bring that Tennessee crowd down and, not create this, crazy, chaotic environment that it's going to be when we first step into the stadium. I think it's important that you put the ball in those guys' belly and let them, bring that crowd down.
All right, let me play the role of Terry Jones Sr. for a second. What was your role or what was your record against Tennessee, and how much does this game mean to you?
All right, so I never lost a football game to Tennessee. Let's just start by that. 5-0 against Tennessee. And this game means a lot to me, man. I remember the quarterbacks. Tyler Bray, Sims. I mean, some of the most unattractive guys I've ever seen in my life. I just remember playing against those guys, man, and a lot of other guys, that played at the University of Tennessee, man. Eric Berry, one of the greats that played there, man. But this has been a rivalry for a long time, because of the way that Alabama and Tennessee recruits the South. You know what I mean? It's been big, since the '90s, since Peyton was at Tennessee. You know what I mean? And I know that this means a lot to the Alabama fans. But me personally, Tennessee wasn't a problem for me. You know what I mean? We had the Knight and Brian Denny with Terrence Cody. Made sure those guys didn't leave our stadium with a win and protected the dynasty that night. And I believe that the Tide is going to take care of business this weekend as well.
Yeah. So with that, you like cigars, right?
I love cigars. I love cigars, and I really love smoking them in Tennessee locker room. Their locker room really, really kind of creates a great environment for a cigar smoke for the Crimson Tide.
Well, you have a job to do. Obviously, we got to get the win on
I
Saturday,
feel
but you
like
got to
I'm in an
bring.
old school. I feel like I'm in an old school like 1960s movie with my stogie.
Yeah, you got an important job. I mean, you got to bring up two victory cigars for Tyler and I in the radio booth when you come back upstairs. Okay.
Say it again.
You got
I
to bring
missed you.
up two. You got to bring up two victory cigars for Tyler and I for our post game segment. All right.
Oh no, no, no doubt about it. And I'm gonna grab some backup ones before I get there, just in case I forget about it.
Certainly could. Well, Damion Square, we look forward to seeing you in Knoxville on Saturday. Just thank you for joining us as our Alabama Legend of the Week and giving us some thoughts on this current Crimson Tide team. Again, appreciate your time, buddy. Roll Tide.
All right, man. Roll Tide. Thank you.